So red pill men who hate women are always in my comments whining when I call out the poor or problematic behavior of other men. And they claim that I never hold women accountable, whatever that means. And they also claim that I only criticize one side in the gender war, which is objectively untrue and easily disproven with a quick scroll through my channel. But either way, today I have a critique about women, about my fellow females that I would like to air, although I feel like these types are not going to like my advice at the end of it. First, I'm Hannah Cox with Base Politics. Welcome to my channel where I bring you my politically homeless takes on politics and culture. Before we dive in today, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and of course, ring that notification bell so you never miss one of my episodes. So previously on this channel, I actually have dissed problematic women a good bit. I've gone hard against the pick-me-girl psychology found among far too many women to this day. I've talked about the bad parenting style of, quote, boy moms. I've gone after the narcissism of bridezillas, the folly of tradwives, and the unethical mindset of gold diggers. So I actually think I've done a good bit of talking about women too. But today I have to add another category of bad female behavior to the list, and that is of the desperate dater. There is no way that I could better summarize this behavior for you than this clip that puts it on full display. So let's dive in.
I'm either about to get my feelings really hurt or rush to get ready. And I'm really not in the mood to go ahead and get started on makeup just to take it off. There was a point in my life where I would do that all the time. It's so depressing, and I don't have any backup plan. Today's delusion was me leaving work early because the guy I'm talking to last night called me when he was drunk, asked me if I wanted to go somewhere with him tonight. But in order for me to be ready and get to his place on time, I would have to leave work early. So I did. If I were to get to his place on time so that we could get there on time, I would need to leave in 30 minutes. I didn't have work till 9:15 this morning. I woke up at 6 to walk my dog because I take her on 45-minute walks every day, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it after work or tonight because I was going to be with my man. This morning I also self-tanned before work. I just showered it off. It's 4:20. I texted him at 3:50 and I was like, hey, am I going to see you tonight, or were you just drunk last night? He responded 10 minutes later and said, well, I was going to invite you to blank, but what? Now he's saying he has work tomorrow morning. So do I. He's saying he has to be in bed early tonight. I would bet $2,000 he's going to go out tonight. The biggest issue is me not having a backup plan. Nobody to just hit up and be like, hey, want to do something? He is working, so I'm just trying to say chill. Chill. I'm just gonna go do my hair. I just watched all that back. I don't know why I didn't say we might be going to a baseball game. I don't know why that was a secret. I'm really trying to tune in with myself and feel in my gut if he's gonna be hurry up and get ready, we're gonna go to this baseball game, or if we're not gonna hang out. I can't feel it in my gut. I don't know what's gonna happen. And I don't like that. But in order for me to get to his place on time, to get to the baseball game on time, I would need to leave in 10 minutes. So, I want to text him and be okay, so no baseball game, but then I would be triple texting him because he's already read the past 2 messages. He's working. He's literally working. So please don't roast me. I know. You want to know what my gut is telling me? If I text this man one more time, he's going to be pissed, pissed enough to not want to see me at all tonight. So this is the part where I would just be really optimistic and just get fully, completely ready, makeup, perhaps even get in the car, I don't know. But I'm feeling very unwanted, so this is so fun. It's gonna suck if he goes to the game without me. And it's really, 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 really gonna suck if he takes someone else. If he doesn't go to the game, can't we still hang out and do something? Even if you have to go to bed early, even if you have to wake up early, can't we do something tonight? Anything? With traffic right now, it would take 50 minutes to get to his apartment, which means I would need to leave 5 minutes ago. So I'm just gonna text him and be so no baseball game? What's he gonna do, say no? Probably. Okay, awesome. It could be way worse. Trust me. Well, it's 5:30 on a Friday. I have nothing to do. I'm lonely. Don't really want to be alone. In moments like this, I have learned, specifically with this man, instead of like freaking out or like telling him that it hurts my feelings or even trying to express to him how this makes me feel, what he just did is 100% for him. His decision, that all of that is 100% for him. He did that. He wanted to do that. So instead of trying to even help him understand how that makes me feel, I have to try to think like right now in this very like specific moment, what can I do for myself? Like literally right here, right now, to make myself feel better, to not overthink anything, to not blow his phone up, to not whatever. Because this situation, him, is so minuscule. And I already know how that entire conversation would go. We didn't even have plans. I was drunk. Like I just like said it, which is true. But my brain, because I miss him so much and I just want to see him, like if he's gonna like actually invite me to something, like even if it's like mentioning it, I'm gonna start trying to plan around it so that it's convenient enough for me to like say yes. Waking up early before work to get stuff done so that when I come home from work, like I can just like hurry up, get ready and go. Leaving work a little bit early because I got nervous. You just can't force someone to care about you. And I am not trying to be dramatic about this baseball game. Like I really just wanted to see him really bad. But he left me on red and he's gonna go get drunk and watch baseball and probably go out tonight. So what am I gonna do for myself? I'm going to stretch. I'm trying to get on my A game for flexibility. I'm trying to bring it back, you know? And probably a little bit of that. If anything happens, I will update before I go to bed. Run me my $2,000 right now. But I would have kept him up, right? Right. He can stay up late doing what? Going out and drinking? God forbid he hangs out with the girl he's talking to. That would be insane.
Me watching that entire video was like, girl, no, please stop, no. It was like a train wreck. I really wanted to like reach into the screen and pull her out and save her from herself. But obviously it was TikTok, so I couldn't do that. So I decided the next best thing was to make this video to hopefully reach her and girls like her and give them some tools to not end up in this situation. I know that video was somewhat long, but I needed to air the whole thing to really let you crawl into this mindset and sit with it, because this is unfortunately a behavior I have seen over and over and over and over again with so many women. I mean, even women that you think have it all together and would never be in this situation or allow this kind of thing to happen to them. I have sat there and watched them do it. And yes, I hate to admit, but I have previously been this woman too. I think we all have, actually. And I could have found dozens of short videos displaying the same pattern because they are all over the internet. But I wanted to play this long one because I actually think it did a really good job and gave a lot of insight into the agony and the anxiety and the distress that women so often put themselves through for men who do not care if they are alive or dead. Like that play-by-play she was giving in 30-minute to 1-hour update segments was brutal, but she was doing it to herself. So for all of the people that maybe saw themselves in this video, which I guess could be men too, I have not seen men display this kind of behavior, but also I am probably not as privy to how men behave behind the scenes and the whole like dating scenario. But either way, if you saw yourself in this video, in this behavior pattern, I want to break down all the things she is doing wrong, not to in any way tear her down. She seems like a very sweet and lovely girl. I have so much sympathy and empathy for her. But I want to do that because, again, I've been there. I did this with my first serious boyfriend when I was like 18 years old. And when I see women doing this to themselves, I still feel that brick in my stomach that I felt back then when I was allowing this cycle to occur in my life. It sucks. I hate seeing other women go through this. Now, fortunately, at that time in my life, I received an intervention by a friend who happened to know of what has been called the Biatch Bible. This is an old book called Why Men Love Bitches. It's kind of outdated now, to be honest. The language is like very cringe and like, yes, girl. But the point of it that she is making is not about women actually being rude or mean or mistreating men in any way. She is trying to help women better understand the psychology of men and what they do stereotypically in relationships that is sending the opposite communication of what they are trying to communicate. Okay. So it's very valuable information. And honestly, once I read it, it reprogrammed my brain. It led to me never doing this kind of crap again. And I say because of that, I had pretty positive experiences in dating. I mean, in short-term dating, like long-term relationships, there were some doozies and, things you don't catch until further into a relationship. But as far as like the early dating period, both before apps and on the apps, I mostly had very positive experiences. I had a lot of dates. I met a lot of good people. I met men who became friends. I met my husband ultimately. And I really didn't get mistreated the way that I hear about so many other women getting mistreated. And I think it's because I had this like rule book to follow. And I really want other women to have it too. So to start off, we are going to dive into my section I have titled, "What do you mean you did that?" From 6 seconds into this video, I was squirming. She said she's about to get her feelings really hurt or rush to get ready. And I instantly was like, girl, what? What do you mean you're doing that? If a man hasn't made firm plans with you at minimum, 24 hours in advance, it is a no. It is a no. It is a no, I'm not available. No, I don't want to see you tonight. No, I have other things going on. No, chat back another time and we can make plans, period. And by firm plans, I don't mean a like, hey, we're going to go on a date this day. No, I mean the date is at this location at this time. There is a reservation or I will be in this car or whatever the explicit plans are, but firm details. As you guys know, I'm somebody who often pushes back on like very strict gender roles. I actually think when we do that, it leads to a lot of gender dysphoria for people who don't feel like they fit neatly into those roles, who don't fit into the stereotypes, and that leads them to like questioning their gender. I think that's bad. But I will say that I think some gender norms largely do make sense for most people. And a man taking the lead, if you're in a heterosexual situation, a man taking the lead in the early points of dating, I still think is pretty essential. I think men are programmed to pursue, and I think women are programmed to need to be pursued. I think this is a good dynamic. It's a healthy dynamic to establish at the beginning of the relationship. And part of doing the pursuing is that the man should be intentional and making consistent plans. That shows leadership. It shows good communication. It shows intentionality. And most importantly, it shows interest. And I just think these are non-negotiables in a partner as a whole, but especially in a male partner. You're not going to be happy with a man who doesn't have these attributes. And furthermore, I would argue a man that is not showcasing these characteristics to you is not that into you. He's not that into you, or he is just not fully developed yet and is in no way ready for a relationship. Either way, it comes out the same in the wash. You need to leave him alone. I will just never understand why a beautiful, sweet seeming girl like this is making herself an option, and not just an option. She's like got herself on the clearance shelf with a big red tag on her forehead screaming, discount, discount. Men need to see you as desirable and valuable. And when they do, they see your time as valuable. And trust me when I say you do not want to be with a man who sees you as less than desirable and valuable. That's not something that grows over time. In fact, the beginning of a relationship is when people are at their best. It's usually when they're most infatuated with one another. And you putting yourself on hold for him whenever he decides on a whim to maybe see you, maybe not, that's only going to detract from the little value he has already placed on you. Furthermore, the logical conclusion after accepting those factors is you should not be putting your life on hold for someone who values you so little. Make other plans. Have a full life. I don't care if your plans are self-tanning, if they're deep conditioning your hair. Build a life that you actually like with hobbies and interest and community and other friends and other religious practices. Build a rich life so that you aren't waiting for somebody to come along and fill up the void, because that's not really an attractive thing to anybody, male or female. Nobody's really that interested in somebody who's just like sitting on ready for them, has nothing going for themselves, and is just desperate to be picked. I wouldn't like it in a man either, to be honest. In fact, probably half the reason you're into him is that he is busy. He does seem to have a much fuller life than you, and he is making you feel like an option because he's got other things to pick from. You, meanwhile, have siloed your choices down to one thing and are sitting there like a poor puppy at a adoption pound waiting to be selected. A little bit further into the video, she says that there was a time that she would even put on makeup just to take it off all the time. So this is a pattern for her, and it seems like it's a pattern that existed before this man came along, where she gets excited, she hypes herself up for something, she gets all ready. And listen, you guys heard my makeup rant earlier this week. Putting on a full face of makeup just to have it taken off, whew, I'd be seeing red. Catch me never. Catch me never. But this is something she's doing where she is putting herself out there. She's letting herself get excited, and then she's getting let down over and over and over by men. And I would say that while these men suck, and yeah, like I could, rant all day about their behavior, but she can't control their behavior. She can control who she selects, how she allows people to treat her, and how long she stays in a situation. I would not need to take off my makeup for broken plans more than once. You would never see me again. And she would never be in the situation to begin with if she was following the rules I've already laid out here, which is that you don't accept plans down to the wire and you don't accept plans that are not firm. And then if somebody bails on those plans, unless it's like an emergency, it's a one shot and you're done sort of thing, especially early on in a relationship. And that way, you are either getting ready for firm plans with a man that you can depend on to keep those plans, or you're getting ready for your own activities that you've planned with women you can depend on keeping those plans, or you're going to do something for yourself that you're excited about. Either way, it prevents you from being in this cycle of disappointment. And as an aside, this is why I've gotten so peeved at the red pill men who go after the quote boss babes, because this is the advice that we often give to women who are in these kinds of cycles. And I think it's good advice. I'm not backing off of it one bit. I think that as an individual, you should be working to self-actualize. You should be working to create a full life. You should be a full person independent of your relationship status. And I think when you do that, not only will you be more fulfilled, not only will you be a stronger person and a person who's more insulated from the whims and disappointments of other people's bad behavior, but I also think you're then going to be a more attractive partner to other people. So I think it's good advice. But what we've seen over the past decade, especially, is women saying, okay, bet. And they take that advice and they do all of those things. They develop these really rich lives. They succeed in their career. They get their money up. They go to therapy. They work on themselves. They're involved in religion. They're involved in volunteering. They're involved in various hobbies that they have. And then they turn around and they can't find any men who are equals because men are not doing those same things. And then those men try to tear them down and say, you just need to lower your standards. Men don't care about your achievements. Men don't care about your intellect. Men don't care about this whole body of work you've done to self-actualize. Actually, crappy men don't care about those things. Men who are not equal, men who have not also done those things, don't care about those things. Men who have do. The problem is that there's not enough of them, especially compared to the number of women that are hitting this pinnacle. And so the same advice actually needs to be given to men. They need to start working and trying to improve themselves in these same patterns. And I think a lot of them that are currently spending their time complaining about women online would find that they had a lot more romantic options if they took that pathway instead. Now, in this video, she goes on to say how after a drunk and thoughtless invite to do something the next night, she rearranged her entire day. She woke up at 6 a.m. to walk her dog, to self-tan before work. Then she left work early. I assume she went in early so she could leave early, all for plans that were not concrete and that she shouldn't have accepted at all. But after she did, and she went through all of this effort, she found herself in this situation. And now she's actually making the situation worse because she's doing this awful thing where she's waiting around to be picked while he is clearly blowing her off immediately. First text back. It is so obvious that that man is not getting together with her that night. And instead of believing him, she continues to delude herself and to wait around and stress about it and have anxiety about it and just try to ponder what she should do and if she should text and if she should not text. And she's going back and forth. And I mean, she's literally for hours on pins and needles waiting for him to say a hard yes or a hard no. He doesn't even respect her enough to give her a hard no, but he's already told her no in those texts. She just doesn't want to accept it. And what she should have been doing is going and finding other plans. And you can tell while she's doing this, she's getting sadder. She's very anxious during this time period. Like, she is mentally stressing herself out. She's mentally stressing me out just watching the video. And yet she keeps saying that she just needs to chill. No, girl. You need to do the opposite of chill. You need to go get some Skelligro from Harry Potter World and grow a backbone. Like, she even gets down to the 10-minute mark in which she needs to leave, which she already has her answer, right? Like, that is so disrespectful and rude. And she's scared to triple text him or bother him while he's at work because she's texted him twice and he's left her on red. And she says she knows if she texts him one more time, so 3 texts, he's going to be so pissed enough that he will call off the plans he clearly already isn't making with her. And so she's terrified to reach out to him. Hi. Girl, you should be the one that's pissed. You should be the one that doesn't want to see him anymore. And furthermore, if you are ever in a relationship where you can't communicate with your partner, period. I mean, 3 texts is not even that much. Like, what? 3 texts is nothing. And you're scared to do that because that's too much. That man is not ready for a relationship and he hates you. A good relationship requires communication, and it requires a lot of communication, and it requires consistent communication, and it requires you putting other things aside to communicate with your partner when it's needed. And by the way, when you are down to a 10-minute mark trying to figure out if you need to leave or not for plans that he loosely made with you, that's a justifiable reason to reach out. And if he has conditioned you to feel like that is too much, then you are in a mentally abusive situation. And I really do think that while this relationship for her is probably not going to go anywhere, the impacts of it are still the same. When women allow themselves, and men, when women or men allow themselves to be in situations like this, where their needs and wants are not only discarded, but where they are gaslit and made to feel like that the needs and wants themselves are the problem, when they're made to feel like speaking up for themselves or just asking for common courtesy is too much for the other person, there is a conditioning that happens with your mind that is breaking you down and that is telling you you're not valuable, you don't matter, you shouldn't be able to ask for these things. And I think that over time, that does something to your psyche and it does make you more likely to end up in an actually abusive situation. Those kinds of people who have already been mentally or emotionally broken down in that way are very susceptible to abusers. And I've often said, maybe this is controversial, but I've often said, when it comes to abuse, I would rather a man hit me in the face than emotionally or mentally abuse me, because physical pain, you get over it much more quickly. And also that is just such an overt and clear red line that if that's how abusers mostly operated, people would not stay in those relationships. They would get away very, very quickly. That's an easy thing to say, I'm walking away from this. This is unacceptable. But that is hardly ever where it starts. And oftentimes it doesn't even reach physical abuse. Where it starts is this: mental and emotional abuse. And that is something that over years can really tear you down, can completely strip you of your personality, of your values, of your joy. It is such a horrible thing for people to go through. And I think the most sinister thing about it is how invisible it is to even the victims themselves, where it often takes even years after getting out of these situations for them to fully process what they went through and look back on it and even name it as abuse. But it is. She even goes on to say that he is making her feel unwanted. And I'm sorry, sweetie, but it's because you are. Not period, not by everybody. There are plenty of people who would want you, but this man in particular does not want you. And he is making that loud and clear. If someone's making you feel unwanted, it is almost 100% of the time because they do not want you. This really is not hard. And I know that when these kinds of conversations come up, I know the line I'm supposed to reiterate as a woman. I know I'm supposed to cater to other women's feelings and hype them up and be like, no, girl, you got this. He's just busy. He's just that, and help them justify it. And I always got in trouble in personal relationships when I've done the opposite, but I will continue to be that person because I actually care about other women, especially younger women. And I'm willing to be the bad guy and tell you hard truths. Women are so desperate to feel wanted, to be pursued, to have the fairy tale that they gaslight themselves into taking crumbs like this by telling themselves, and she's doing it on camera, I'm being too needy, I'm asking for too much. They start to really believe that their needs or wants are too much. And it sucks to watch it happen. What really blew my mind, though, is when she says it's going to suck if he goes to the game without her, and it would really suck if he takes someone else. So you were in a situation with a man that you were bending over backwards for, and yet you don't even know if he might be taking another girl on the date he loosely threw your way and then took away from you. I don't understand, like, the docile, like, sweet, like, that would really suck. Girl, I would be rage texting or ghosting. I mean, probably I would just ghost because I don't care about a man that much in the early phases of dating. But either way, the fact that she's like, that would really suck, when, like, by all intents and purposes at this point in the night, that's pretty clear what he's doing. He's going to a baseball game. That's not a question. You just are waiting to see if you're going to be invited to go or if he's going to blow you off for people he'd rather be with. So whether that's his guys or whether that's another girl, that should be an unacceptable situation to you. But what made it even wilder, what made it even crazier is in the next breath, she said, but even if he does, can't we, like, do something after? I'm gagged. The lack of self-respect. You were telling me that if this man blew you off to take another date to the date he shortly promised you, you would want to see him after? I mean, this is a level of desperate. Like I said, I've done some of this, like I copped to at the beginning, but never done this. I've never done this. If a man even indicated another woman was, like, interesting or attractive, we'd be done. Like, fine, go get her. Hope you have a great time. Wish you well. I'll send you a card for your wedding, but you will never see me again. I don't know. I can't put myself in these shoes. It really is such a level of insecurity and a lack of self-worth to say that, to still be open to that, to still want to see somebody if they blew you off for another girl. Like, that is, I'll never, nope, sorry. Okay, I have to move on. That's too upsetting. She goes on to say that the baseball game that it's coming down to the wire for, that she's waiting to see if she can go to, is a 50-minute drive to his house. Girl, this is another hard line to me in the early phases of dating. Once you're actually in a relationship, some of these things I think that you need to be willing to, like, meet halfway on. But in the early phases of dating, that man should be coming to you. I'm too old school for this. I'm only 36, but, like, this is really something men do. I can't understand it. I don't really like, well, I should say I didn't really like, before I was married, for a man to pick me up on the first date. That didn't feel safe. So I would usually choose to Uber, but the date would be in my neighborhood. It would be around my area, not only due to distance, but just also due to safety and comfortability reasons, to make sure that I was in an area that I knew and could get home and felt secure in when I'm just getting to know somebody. So you're going to drive almost an hour to his house? No, absolutely not. It just gives desperate pick-me behavior. Like I said, I think there are so many things women do, particularly in early dating phases, where they are trying to communicate, I like you, I'm a good partner, I would go out of my way for you. And really, that's not what they're communicating. Their actions are communicating, I'm desperate, I have no options, I have nothing better to do, you are up here, I am down here, please just let me be around you. So yeah, all of this is bad enough. And then she goes through with the text, and his response was just, how old is this man? I kind of need to comment on this video and ask, because any man over the age of, 23, 24, still prioritizing his boys is a man baby and should be an automatic no. I've just never really fooled with this type. I don't even know them. I don't know men like this. I hear about them from other women. I observed some a few weeks ago when I was in Charleston with my sister and we were at a bar. And I was just looking around like I was at a zoo. Like, what do you mean you're over 30 and ripping shots at a bar every night? What do you mean you're talking to someone when your hairline is receding? Like, where do these men come from? And then her response to those texts, those outlandish, crazy texts, which for those of you on audio are him, like, barely responding to her and basically just saying he's going to go out with his boys and she'll keep him up too late, and, like, very broken, badly spelled language grammar. And she says, that actually could be way worse. I'm like, girl, what else has he said to you in text? It could be way worse. Lastly, she goes on to say in moments like this, she has learned with this man, so he does this a lot, that instead of freaking out or trying to express her feelings or invoke empathy in him, because he's a degenerate that has no empathy, she has to think of ways to self-soothe herself, essentially. She's right when she says he did this for him. He does not care about her. But her response is, I need to condition myself to accept this behavior from a man I'm talking to, and who regularly does this. Like, where does she think this is going for her? It is in no way minuscule behavior, particularly early on. And the fact that she's like, I'll bend over backwards to see him because I miss him so much, but he will get mad at me if I justifiably text him after blowing me off. She doesn't see the contrast there. She doesn't see her feelings are not returned and that he wouldn't lift a finger for her. It's really just sad to watch. Like, I want to call her daddy and be like, you need to get your girl. I also think this is a word of caution for parents if you have daughters to like gas them up and give them a good sense of self and give them good experiences so that this kind of thing is dusty and gross and a turnoff to them immediately. Because frankly, what you're seeing right here, I'm sorry to tell you, this is the majority of what women are dealing with. Non-committal, immature, emotionally stunted, boy mom raised, selfish man babies. And we keep saying to women, just pick better. Pick better from what? Porn addicts, gamblers, drunks and potheads, men who hate women. It is slim pickings out there for women right now. It really is. And I'm tired of acting like women are the bad guys for desperately seeking relationships and marriage and children, which we tell them and condition them that they should want and need and desire, and that that's what gives them value over and over and over. And then we criticize them when they, with their full chest, try to go after it and get treated like this. We really have to start working with young men in this society. This is not acceptable behavior, and it is far too prevalent. But I want to say to young women, and I firmly believe this, I waited till I was 36 to get married. I'm so glad I did. And now that I am married to a man who is wonderful and so heads and shoulders above the vast majority of men I've ever met in my entire life or even heard of, my husband's wonderful. But marriage is not a prize. Marriage is hard work. Marriage is a commitment. Marriage is something that can be beautiful, but it's not this like end goal that you arrive at. And I promise you, it is better to be single than to be married to somebody like this. I'm married to somebody who's great. And marriage is still hard. Marriage is still sacrifice. Marriage is still learning to put yourself second. It is still learning to do things you don't want to do. It's learning good communication. It's learning to love somebody's ugly spots. It's hard. So you need to be married to somebody who's really, really good and amazing to make it worth it. We've conditioned women to be too nice and to give the benefit of the doubt and to stifle their emotions, and it's damaging. So here are my better dating rules for women and men. You can take this too, but I think women particularly need to hear this. Number 1, take their energy and double it. It has often been said, I think this is poignant, what you put into a woman, she will multiply. But with me, that's true for positives and negatives. You ignore my communications, you won't hear from me for days, if ever again. You disrespect my time, you will be begging for a spot on my calendar like I am Carbone. You don't need to feel bad about matching somebody else's energy. It's not rude. You're not being unpolite. You don't owe these men anything. They are strangers. And if they are being disrespectful and rude to you, it is fine to take that energy and double it and leave them alone. Secondarily, must-haves in early dating: immediate, consistent communication, swift, detailed, thoughtful plans. And I would say relationship within 1 month. Honestly, I don't think it ever took me 1 month to like lock it down and be in a relationship once I met somebody I was interested in dating, but never more than a month. Like, if you were two grown people, you should be able to figure that out pretty quickly. This whole like situationship and talking phases and all this mess, it's for the streets. Don't do it. Thirdly, aside from values and other lifestyle choices I was looking for a match on, which actually can be a little bit, more difficult to find, I would say the lead up to the relationship should be a courting phase with invested and intentional time, getting to know one another. A lot of quality time is needed to build the foundation for a relationship and make sure it's really somebody you want to be in a relationship with. There should be good communication on both of your parts about your feelings and the direction of the dating process and what you both want. And it should be a mutual agreed upon in destination that you both are actually after, like a relationship or like getting married one day. There should be prioritization and respect. I'm not saying that somebody has to like up in their life for you in the early phases, but you should feel like you are a priority to them. And fourth, a word of caution to women. Words I don't think work on men. Actions do. They just communicate differently, and that's fine. They are not going to largely hear your paragraph long text explaining what they did and why it was wrong and how they hurt you. They listen to actions. So speak with your actions. I do like that more and more women are waking up to this stuff. Some of the comments on the video were great. This person said, the fact that you were nervous to triple text them so that you wouldn't ruin it is all I needed to know. The right person won't care. You deserve to feel secure, wanted, cherished, and safe. Another person said, I just asked, would my future husband do this? No, blocked. Which is a great point. Think about how you want your future husband to behave and don't date people who don't behave like that. Someone else said, if there's any question about plans, there's no plans. You deserve to be a priority. Take yourself out for dinner and a drink. Another person said, this is anxious attachment if I ever saw it. Yes. Oh my gosh, look into anxious attachment if you've ever behaved like this. And then lastly, somebody said, it's a canon event. I fear I cannot interfere. Maybe that is true. Maybe some women just have to go through this before they can get to the other side. But if that is true, make it snappy and get to the other side fast. I promise it's way better over here. Men need to be better. I will not stop saying that. And if it hurts your feelings, you're probably one of the ones that needs to be better because quality men agree with me. But women need to quit incentivizing this conduct. You are being a weak link and allowing awful men to continue this kind of behavior, which doesn't just hurt you as an individual. It's going to inevitably hurt the other women he moves on to next. He's going to keep this pattern going. When men find there is no market for this kind of stuff, they will be forced to change. So women need to have a little solidarity in the meantime. If you can't grow a backbone for yourself, do it for other women. All right, guys, I hope you liked this episode. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you've not already, and if you want even more content, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok.